Welcome to the Hard 90 with your host, Gage Kirkland, on a February Sunday. And guess what? Spring has sprung. Pitchers and catchers have reported to spring training, and America's pastime is on the docket in 2021. We got a big show today. A lot of news, a lot of stories, and some things to share. But first, I just wanted to play a sound that many of you have been dying to hear. And I mean, after you listen to that, it makes it real. It makes it real for me when pitchers and catchers report the sound of the glove, catching the ball, just a pop of the mitt, that and cleats on concrete. And if you're a ball player, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But spring training is underway in Florida and in Arizona. Pitchers and catchers are doing their thing, and baseball is a week away from actual spring training games. Baseball's back, and I couldn't be more excited. You know, these teams, guys have moved around, and new guys, new faces, and new places. The whole bit, 162 game season underway, and you know, we got a lot of news, a lot of free agent signings that have happened over the last 2 weeks. So let's get right into it. Justin Turner, the longtime Dodger, re-signed with LA for a 2-year contract and over $30 million. And essentially what this is, in my humble opinion, I think number 10 gets hung in the rafters, after his long career with the Dodgers. He leads the team, he leads the franchise in postseason home runs. He's been a staple at third base for many years. He's been to 3 World Series and was the NLCS co-MVP in 2017. You know, this guy is kind of what it means to be a Dodger, and a lot of people couldn't picture him in another uniform, and neither could he. So he's staying in LA probably to the end of his career. He's 36 right now, and he's probably setting up retirement plans in Southern California because this is where he belongs. He belongs a Dodger, and everybody knows it, and so does he. And part of his reasoning was, you know, staying with a contender, obviously, but he just said, you know, it felt weird to think about any other destination. And they made it work, and I'm actually kind of surprised he took 2 years because he was vying for 4. The Dodgers said, we're not going to give you anything above 2, and, well, Turner caved first. So Turner signs with LA, and they don't really care about the salary tax at all. Andrew Friedman, the president of baseball operations for the Dodgers, basically said, we care about winning a championship more than what our salary limit's going to be, or whether or not we spend $250 million in a season. And, you know, we can have another discussion about a salary floor in baseball or a salary limit in baseball, but that right there is an organization's willingness to spend money to win a championship, to retain the guys they have. So Turner in LA for 2 more years. Trevor Rosenthal has signed with the Oakland A's after leaving San Diego, a solid bullpen piece for a team that's in the hunt for a postseason spot. Now, again, Houston is the team to beat in the AL West, but Oakland's right there, and the Angels are probably going to be in the mix too, so Oakland needs to stay competitive, and this is a solid arm for their bullpen. You know, Marcus Semien left the team. Also, Chris Davis is not on the team anymore, remember? He and Elvis Andrus switched places about a month ago. So this is going to be a good piece for Oakland moving forward. So Jake Arrieta signs with the Chicago Cubs on a 1-year deal, and he's reunited on the north side of Chicago. He and the Cubs have come back together, and man, Jake Arrieta with the Cubs back in 2016, 2015 was one of the best pitchers in baseball. Kind of fell off the face of the earth in the last several years, but coming back to Chicago on a team-friendly deal, low-risk, high-reward kind of thing, and who knows? I mean, the Cubs obviously lost Yu Darvish. They have a need in their rotation, and if Jake Arrieta could somehow find that ability that he had a few years ago, this could be a really solid pickup for Chicago. Now, the Cubs obviously are on the decline and are likely not going to be division winners in the Central this year. However, they're still a team that could still compete, even after giving up Yu Darvish. They signed Jock Peterson, so they made a few moves, but nothing earth-shattering. Next up, Yadier Molina, staying in the NL Central, has re-signed with the St. Louis Cardinals, and this is historic because he and Adam Wainwright this year will make it 16 years together as a battery. 16 years. I want you to think what you were doing 16 years ago. And for me, we're talking about what? First grade? I don't know. It's a long time ago. Very long time ago. 16 years ago, Adam Wainwright and Yadier Molina laced it up for the first time together, and they're still doing it in St. Louis, which says something about the organization and keeping their core around, which is awesome. So mad respect to Yadi Molina sticking around with St. Louis and giving it another go. And now it's the part in the show where it's time for a word with our friends at Anchor. So now a few other headlines that shook the baseball universe in the last couple weeks. Fernando Tatis Jr., the guy on MLB 21, the show, and one of the best shortstops in baseball. Yeah, he just signed a 14-year extension worth $340 million to remain with the Padres. Now, when I say young, I mean 22 years old young. For those who don't know me, I'm 23 years old and have recently graduated from college. When guys like this sign this magnitude of deals, it really makes me think or rethink my life choices. Because Fernando Tatis Jr. is obviously younger than me. And I feel like when you start seeing these guys making these kind of deals and progressions in their career, that's when you start feeling old. And, to whoever is in my age group who's listening right now, maybe you can sort of relate to this, because before, when I was growing up watching baseball, I always thought of these guys as like super, prime of their lives, athletes, getting all these sponsorships, the guys you look up to. And, obviously growing up, you realize that they're a lot younger than at least I would have thought growing up as a kid. This guy's 22, and he's got the third largest contract in MLB history. He never even went through arbitration, and San Diego locked him up 14 years. I mean, it's incredible. To put it in perspective, the two guys above him, Mike Trout and Mookie Betts. Trout, who got $426 million, and Mookie Betts, who got $365. Both of them were 27 when they signed those huge contracts. Fernando is 5 years younger than that. So San Diego is not only taking a huge bet on Fernando Tatis Jr., they are making an absolutely colossal statement that they need this guy for the rest of his tenure as a baseball player. And they're locking up the left side of their infield for at least the next 8 years, with Machado got $300 million over 10 years a couple years ago. So the Padres can't really cry poor anymore. Their left side of the infield is just under, it's closer to $1 billion than $1 million. So, hey, Padres are going to be down the throats of the Dodgers for a while in the NL West, competing for years to come. So moving on, baseball released its top 100 players in baseball leading up to spring training. And, I obviously had a couple reactions, a couple thoughts. So here are my top 10. MLB had Trout at number 1. I think that's the obvious choice. And if you don't have anybody but Mike Trout at the top, you are lying to yourself and lying to everybody else who you tell. Mike Trout's the number 1 player in baseball, far and none. I have Mookie Betts at number 2, and I think that's kind of obvious too. Care to disagree, but I think Trout at number 1 is a bit more of a lock than Betts at 2. Jacob deGrom at number 3. He is the best pitcher in the game, in my humble opinion, and top 3 in the league. He's incredibly talented and is in the Cy Young candidate every year. Every year he's in that conversation. I had Freddie Freeman at number 4, the NL MVP. This guy just rakes wherever he goes. Best first baseman in baseball and a staple for the Atlanta Braves. At number 5, Fernando Tatis Jr. for me. You know, this guy, he might be overhyped and I might have him a little too high, but, you know, for now, we're just going to see how it goes. I think part of it for me is the contract extension, just sort of giving him that value and what he's worth. And I think that should be taken into account of these rankings, of their value to the team that they play for. And, you know, if the Padres make that kind of a statement for a guy like Tatis Jr., that they're going to pay him that much when he's this young, I think that says a lot. So, Fernando Tatis Jr. at number 5. I got Shane Bieber at number 6, best pitcher in the AL. AL Cy Young, just an incredible arm for Cleveland. He has gotten so much better over the last few years, and yeah, not much more to say. Number 7, I got Juan Soto, outfielder for the Washington Nationals. It kind of an obvious pick to have him in the top 10. He's super young, like Fernando Tatis Jr. Left-handed bat, he'll be an all-star for years to come. After him at number 9, or pardon me, I got that all wrong. I had Soto at 7. Number 8 is Ronald Acuna Jr., another Atlanta Brave. And those two, a combo for years to come that we'll see for a long time. Acuna, top of the order with the Braves. Huge bat. Big glove in the outfield. And one of the most fun to watch guys in the league, in my opinion. And then when we talk about fun to watch, I think about a guy named Nolan Arenado at number 9. He's defensively, it's just awe-inspiring to watch this guy play. And when I think of Nolan Arenado, I don't think of his bat, which is kind of funny, thinking that he hits over 30 home runs a year and hits over 300. I think of his glove and the types of throws he's made in his career. Diving into the tarp and, these sidearm acrobatic throws from third base, to get the runner in time at first. Arenado's just crazy good. And then at number 10, Christian Yelich. Now, this one might raise a couple of hairs for a couple of people out there. I did not have Anthony Rendon in the top 10, which MLB did, and I think they had him at number 8. I have Christian Yelich here at number 10, and he had a down year, a pretty bad year last year for his standards, but he's just a guy who, to me, is someone who has a down year like that, but that's the one exception. And he has been just such a solid player for many years, even when he was a Marlin, before he became a Brewer. This is a guy that just does everything right and makes the adjustments necessary, hits the ball the other way when he needs to. He's quick, he's a 5-tool player, and he's the 10th player on my list. So baseball and MLB.com also released the amount of players per team in their top 10. And the two teams with the most players in the top 100 are the Dodgers and White Sox. And the question needs to be asked, is this a potential World Series matchup? And the obvious answer is yes, absolutely. 2 exclamation points, 100%. And I'm going to give my World Series predictions in a later episode, but these are two teams stacked with talent, and if it's not evident about both teams having 9 guys in the top 100, I don't know what is. The Dodgers are coming off of a World Series and signing Trevor Bauer, and I guess re-signing Justin Turner. He's in the top 100 as well. But the Chicago White Sox, they added Lance Lynn, and remember, he had a huge year last year. The White Sox got a whole lot better, and this is a team that went to the playoffs last year, didn't perform very well, but, this is a team that could really wreak havoc in the AL Central. And I'm really high on the White Sox. I think they'll win their division, and, it's very likely to see them going to the World Series to meet up with the Dodgers. Now, whether it's going to be the Dodgers in the NL, who knows? And, the White Sox in the AL, it's almost a toss-up. But those two teams have the most talent, and I don't think that's disputable. Those teams have a ton of talent. They're well-balanced, and, that's what you need in this game for a long run of the baseball season that we're going through. The marathon, that's the word. A marathon of a baseball season. You have to have a balanced team with a lot of talent, and these teams have that. And they're also built for the sprint as well. So, Dodgers, White Sox, very likely to see them in the World Series. And moving on, Fangraphs posted their 2021 postseason odds. Now, here's where it gets interesting. They had the Baltimore Orioles with a 0.0% chance of making the playoffs. And MLB tweeted this. They tweeted this on their site, and people were quick to say, yeah, Major League Baseball may have officially eliminated the Orioles because Fangraphs gave them a 0% chance. Fangraphs, for those who don't know, is an advanced baseball analysis and stats site. And they put together all these different graphs and percentages on different things baseball related. So, it's a trusted source, and baseball uses their information for, certain content every now and then. And they gave Baltimore 0% chance of making the playoffs. Now, a team that's going to be equally as bad, in my opinion, the Colorado Rockies, have a 0.1% chance. So not 0, but still 0.1. Other teams who have a very limited chance, the Pittsburgh Pirates are at 0.4. The Marlins, who made the playoffs, are at 0.7. Hold up, the Marlins are at 0.7? Wow. Obviously last in the NL East, but that is insane. The Miami Marlins at a 0.7% chance of making the playoffs. Hey, if they make the playoffs again, that would be one hell of a story. In the NL East, they have Mets at 81.2, Braves at 67.8, Nationals at 24.6, Phillies at 13.4, and the Marlins at 0.7. First of all, the Mets on the top, I think that's a good play. And, I've previously said that the Mets might not make the playoffs, but thinking about it again, that's a really talented team. They've got a good pitching staff. And they've got, Lindor now, which really helps. I still think they're a wild card team at this point. I still think the Braves will win that division. So I think the Mets at 81% are a bit high. And the Braves at 67% are a little bit low. But Miami at 0.7, that's really low. That's really low for Miami. And some other teams that have, been surprising. The AL champs, Tampa Bay Rays, are at 18.6%. 18.6% to make the playoffs, according to Fangraphs. Now, they did lose Charlie Morton and Blake Snell, so 2 huge hits to the rotation. But, they still have a bunch of bats. Like, Randy Rosarena's not going anywhere. He was historically good. Brandon Lau is still there. Chi-Man Choi is still there. A lot of impact bats are still there. So, when you watch Tampa Bay games this year, it might be a high-scoring affair. However, they still do have a great bullpen, so it might be hard to see how that goes, but at only 18%, man, I don't know about that. 18.6 for the Tampa Bay Rays. And they have the top-seeded Cardinals, St. Louis Cardinals, at 36.2% to make the playoffs. The NL Central is one of the least intriguing divisions in baseball this year because it's not because it's going to be really competitive. It's because there is a lack of superstar power in that division. Now, Nolan Arenado helps with that, absolutely. And I think the Cardinals are practically a lock to take that division. But Fangraphs obviously doesn't think so because they have that at 36% to win. right in front of Milwaukee at 35.4. Then the Cubs at 21, the Reds at 18.7, and the Pirates down there at 0.4. Sad. But, hey, I think the Cardinals are a lock to win that division. I would probably have them around 50% or so. We'll see. We'll see about the Cardinals and the Brewers, and I think St. Louis is going to take that division, but by as close as Fangraphs has it, nah, they're going to win that division. And sort of to wrap up the show, there was a very interesting Twitter beef this week that we have to address. Trevor Bauer and Noah Syndergaard had a very, very classic Twitter battle. So essentially, Noah Syndergaard quoted a tweet from the Mets social media page basically saying, choose this team, but I'll still donate to your charities. Basically throwing shade at Trevor Bauer, who had narrowed down his list between the LA Dodgers, the team he eventually chose, and the New York Mets. Noah Syndergaard obviously be playing for the Mets, and Trevor Bauer responded, basically saying, hey, that's not exactly what happened. I'm a big fan of donating to charities regardless where I go, blah, blah, blah. And then he takes 3 screenshots of Nolan Arenado basically telling fans to F off. And Bauer's like, try to treat the fans better. That's what makes our game go. No place for personal insults. And Syndergaard didn't take to that lightly. He posted a GIF, or a GIF. I say GIF. Posted a GIF of a man digging a hole with the caption, "Keep digging." And there's been a lot of speculation about Trevor Bauer's image on social media. And, with cancel culture and his political views, a lot of people seem to disagree with Trevor Bauer. And from what I've seen on Twitter, Trevor Bauer usually doesn't attack people unless he's been attacked. I feel like, it's not something I would do. I would never, go after someone even if they went after me. It's just not my style. But Trevor Bauer's been someone who has outspoken views. And if someone disagrees and, says what they want, he'll respond in kind. So Noah Syndergaard posts a GIF of a man digging a hole, saying, "Keep digging." And Bauer responds saying, "See you at the bottom." Oh boy. Syndergaard after that says, "You bring a drone in your mixtape and it's a deal. Hashtag take a joke, bro." Oh my goodness gracious. And the final episode of the saga, Bauer says, "You got yourself a date." The Mets and Dodgers this year is about to be an absolute death match this season. I mean, holy moly. And the fan bases are chawing after each other right now. And I've got friend groups who are basically giving it to the Mets right now of, that they're being more annoying than Padre fans, which can be true. The Mets have a great team, and they would have been better with Trevor Bauer. They didn't get Trevor Bauer, and the Mets are a little salty. And Syndergaard started it. As for who won it, I gotta say Syndergaard won the debate. Because he didn't really attack it, and Bauer came back with some insults and some uppercuts and some jabs, but ultimately Syndergaard set the table, and Bauer was the one doing the responding. So I got to give this match to Syndergaard, but hey man, there's no DH in the NL this year. Pitchers are going to be batting, and you better believe if the Mets and Dodgers face off and Bauer and Syndergaard are facing each other in the same game, it might get a little dicey. The first matchup between those two teams is in August, by the way, and that'll be happening in Queens, New York. So look out for that one in August, I think about mid-August. I want to say the 13th through the 15th. I don't know. Check your calendars, but we'll see. Mets, Dodgers, that might be an interesting interesting matchup to watch. So that's it for this episode of The Hard 90. If you like this episode, share it with some friends and family to make sure they're all caught up with all the up-to-date baseball content. Also, please give the podcast a like and subscribe on Apple Podcasts and the brand new YouTube channel. That's right, we have a YouTube channel now. Episodes will be released on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the YouTube channel moving forward, in addition to wherever you listen to your podcasts. So take care, everybody, and I'll see you next time on The Hard 90.